there.
All right.
There you go.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Kayla. Welcome, everybody. Just start here. I had everything so well organized. Now I started chatting. Here we are. We're meeting today on the traditional territory of the Teonantate, the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, which is now the home of diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. We acknowledge the Indigenous people who cared for Turtle Island from before the arrival of the settlers to this day. We acknowledge that Clearview Township is situated on land covered by Treaty 18 with the Anishinaabe. We are committed to moving forward in a spirit of truth, reconciliation, and respect. The agenda was sent out. There's been there's four kind of main items underneath new business there. Is there, I guess we should have a mover and a seconder, and then we will see if there's any additions or that sort of thing to the agenda. Okay, Melanie is a mover. Anyone else want to second the agenda? Thank you, Tina. And any changes, additions to the agenda? Anything we need to include? Hearing, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ed.
I had sent an email out a while ago saying status of Tina and I's ability to volunteer at the ACC.
Yep.
I'd just like to have a quick discussion on that if there's others that are.
Sure. Yeah, we were going to talk about public events under 8.1 public events beginning October 1st. So does it make sense to, is that okay? Or do you want to talk about it as a separate item, like volunteering in general as a separate item?
No, let's add it. Just talk general with the other topic then. That's fine.
Okay, sure. No problem. Yep. Anything else anyone would like to see on the agenda? All right, then we'll move to the vote. All in favor of the agenda? Seeing lots of hands. Any opposed? I think that's unanimous. Okay, great. Consider the agenda carried. Anyone at this time need to disclose a disqualifying interest for this meeting? Hearing none, we will move to on to item number 4, the approval of the previous minutes from August, not October yet, August the 19th. They were sent around by Kayla. We had our meeting on the 19th of August. It was a fairly brief meeting. We talked about the AOD renovations, and we talked about the fundraising subcommittee. Had an update from Claire on the rentals. Any further discussion on the minutes? Like a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes, please. Melanie and Claire, great. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, any opposition to the minutes? Great, we'll consider the minutes carried. And business arising. So our fundraising subcommittee met the first Thursday in September. Yeah, the second. We talked for a little while, probably about an hour and a half, I want to say. We had some good discussion to kind of kick around some ideas. We are meeting again on the 7th of October in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, we're just planning on we were kind of waiting and seeing where things were going to go with the renos, and we agreed that we want to make sure that the project's going to go ahead before we start doing a big campaign. Sarah is sorry, I have my thing minimized again. I haven't seen if Sarah has shown up yet, but Sarah is committed to supporting the hall with some events. Bonnie and Rick from who live across the hall there in the manse, they're definitely on board for the fundraising campaign and for kind of all aspects of it. And Yeah, so we had a good discussion. We talked about a number of different ideas, and came up with some kind of preliminary ideas. And we're going to develop a fundraising plan to bring to the board. And I would think we're going to hammer that out a little bit more after the 7th. But discussions are ongoing, and yeah, I can take any questions. It's pretty preliminary at this point, but I can take any questions or any comments anyone has. Okay, great. Rental update. We had a wedding a couple weeks ago, Claire?
Okay, the wedding was canceled because of our low numbers. So we did not have the wedding. The next rental I have is October 9th for a celebration of life for David Scott. So I have sent Susan all of the COVID paperwork that you had sent me, Bill.
Yep.
And I'm a little unclear, actually. I know we got the clarifying letter, but I told her that she has to be the one that does all of the tracing, contact tracing for that rental. Am I correct in that? Because I feel like the letter that we just got said that the hall board is responsible for that contact tracing.
Is that the one that we just got from the one that I just forwarded from Terry?
Yes.
Okay, let me just double check that because
that's what I understood as well, Claire, from reading that.
Okay.
Well, okay, so it says responsibility of the owners of facilities to make sure the contact tracing for each guest is achieved. The owner can delegate that responsibility to staff or an organization renting your facility.
Okay.
And I think it makes the most sense. Like, you know, if we get to the point where we're going to have concerts, for example, you know, like Sarah has a list of everybody who's coming in, that's kind of an easier one than a celebration of life because people aren't buying tickets. But yeah, I think that, you know, like we've gone to restaurants or if you've been to a restaurant and that sort of thing, or even a public event of some kind, you know, you've had to sign in, or one person in your party has had to sign in. So I think people are used to that, and as long as the renter has a list of some kind, and they can tell, you know, at least contact one person in the household of the people who are attending to say if there is a need to contact them. I think that's sufficient.
Okay, so she's going to send me that after her rental. Do I submit that to the township, or do I keep that?
I don't think she needs to send it in.
She just has to keep it.
Yeah, hang on to it. Contact.
Okay.
Owners or organizations shall not retain any information provided by a patron unless it relates to proof of vaccination. So contact tracing info must be retained. So again, as long as it's, you know, and probably the best thing is, like, if it's a celebration of life, you know, it'll be friends and family of that person, potentially. I would think that it makes most sense for them to just keep that information and in a secure location for a couple of weeks. And then if something happens, then we've got that, then they have that record.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. And then the only other rentals I have are concerts from Sarah. So she has October 23rd and 30th, November 6th, November 19th, 20th, November 26th, 27th. Nothing for December, and then looking into the new year, there's some concerts in February and March. And then I do have 2 weddings, May and July of next year. If
Okay.
things open up and they can have numbers again.
Yeah. Is Sarah, are you here? Sarah's not here yet. I do believe that I do think that some of those dates are just holds. They're not, yeah.
I don't, I have no confirmation on them. They're booked for her.
Yeah. I'm just sending her a quick text. Okay. I think the only date that is or the only dates that are firm for events at this point are November 20th and the 26th, 27th are to my knowledge. So those are there was a tentative concert for the 23rd, but I think they've sort of backed up on that one of the 23rd of October. So anyhow, hopefully Sarah can jump on here and confirm that. But when I talked to her a couple weeks ago, that's what she was saying.
So it just, rentals are not pouring in, thank goodness. Not ready for that. I did have the hall sprayed for flies last week. And since our last meeting, I've had Sally in to clean it. So I will definitely ask Sally to come back and clean it before October 9th to vacuum up the flies and stuff. The signage is up, the hand wash stations are up. I think the hall, I did not receive anything from Amanda to say that we passed our kitchen inspection, but my assumption is we did. Or she would have called to say what we have to update. I did put a list up in the kitchen to let everyone know when Brad, the pest guy, when he comes to the hall, just so that everybody is well aware of the inspections and the dates of those inspections and that we passed on his behalf. That's just a hall board member thing. So you can always look in the file folder on the wall where the MSDS sheets are. Okay.
Great. Yeah, sorry, I was just checking my emails because I know we did get an update from Kayla but it's the email that we got a few weeks ago about the pre inspection email. So yeah, I haven't seen either how we did on the
I'm sure if we did not do well, we would have heard immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Amanda's also on vacation, so she'll be back on Monday.
Okay.
Oh.
Great.
There was very little. So I have not had Brad coming to the hall for the last year. He did, I think he came in the fall to spray for flies, but that was the last, but very low pest activity. I think there was 3 or 4 mice in the catch-alls, and other than flies and some wasps, everything was good.
Well, there shouldn't have been a lot of new food sources for them. Yeah, that's for sure.
So,
Great.
Okay, that's my update.
Thanks. Any questions for Claire? All right. Karen's not here to give us a financial report, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda, unless anyone has any financial news they would like to relay, I guess. Okay. So back in the summer, we had talked about opening the hall to private events September 1st. I had worked on that document for the hall reopening plan, and we looked at that last meeting. I'm sorry, Claire, I didn't realize that the wedding had been canceled. So I was just wondering if we should talk about opening the hall for public events, and what that kind of looks like. I think it's one of those things that things are in general kind of opening up. I think the implementation of the vaccine passport is, I think it's reassuring, for our volunteers and for even other patrons to know that the people who are coming in for these public events will have to have their two shots. But I want to have a discussion about it. So maybe Ed, do you want to start off with how you're feeling, and that you and Tina, or?
I guess currently I'm not interested in volunteering for a ACC run event or a non-ACC event at the ACC. How's that?
Yep.
Does that make everything clear?
Crystal.
So that's currently, and I don't know.
Yep.
I'm just, that's just the way we feel, and I just don't feel safe being around however many people could be in the hall. But,
Yep, absolutely.
yeah. So if anybody else.
You kind of cut out.
No, you can't know.
Sorry, you kind of cut out for me, Ed, so I'm not exactly sure what you said, but I'll just put in my 2 cents worth that I'm not feeling comfortable either for public events. I don't want to have to look at his passport and or have arguments with anti-vaxxers. I don't want to have anything to do with any of that. I get enough of it all day long at work. So I don't even want to participate in any events at this point either.
Thanks, Lori. Other thoughts?
So I'm not interested in participating in events either at the hall. I will do the rentals, but I'm not meeting the renters. I'm setting up where they can pick up a key. It's up to them to let themselves in, do their own contact tracing, and making sure it's clean, and then leaving the key for me. At this point, that's my stand as well.
I'm agreeing with Lori. I'm not overly comfortable with the argument. I have enough of that at work every day. And also my hours of work are changing, so I'm not going to be done work until 11 p.m. at night, so I just won't be available to help out with anything.
Yeah. Okay.
I can still look after putting the garbage out and all of that kind of stuff there on Fridays. That's not a problem. It's just the other stuff that's going on until we get a few more people in this world on the same wavelength as me. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yep. Thanks. Melanie, John, your thoughts?
We're still not meeting in person. We're still staying on Zoom meetings. So yeah, I'm not too keen on meeting all these people coming from who knows where, and by the sounds of everybody that's having to do this vaccination thing, everybody's starting to have a problem with that. There is a few feuds going on here and there. Some people don't think they need to produce their passports, and yeah, it's gonna be tough going until the springtime.
Okay. Melanie, do you have anything to add, or?
No, not really. I guess I don't want to be around all those people either. I get it all day at work as well. So it's a hard thing.
Sure.
It really doesn't make any sense that we get an email indicating that we're not meet in person, but we can open up. I don't understand.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good point, and I think you know, if you're using the way that the regulations are written, if you're using the hall as a public performance space, the capacity goes to 50% of your normal indoors, goes to 50% of your normal normal capacity. So, you know, in the case of Avening, that's 112 people or so, 110 people, depending on, you know, 220 is what we would say normally put in for the for a concert. So yeah, 110-ish, 100, yeah, 220, 225, sometimes what we would do. So yeah. No, I don't want to, you know, force anyone to, don't want anyone to feel like they're forced to be volunteering, and certainly, you know, everyone's has got their own set of personal circumstances, whether it's just not wanting to have the arguments or wanting to protect others in their family that they need to go and see and visit and that sort of thing. So absolutely, makes sense. All right, so let's move on to AODA. Is anyone want to say anything else before we move on about that? Go ahead, Ed.
Is this something we could discuss, have it as every meeting that you can say yay or nay if you're still feeling the same way? So that it can be kept current, not just not the September meeting. So the October meeting, we'd have to do the same. Everybody would say yes or
Yeah,
no,
I think
if that's
with you know, a couple of events on the horizon in November, we're gonna need to talk about this again, and figure out how we go about it, how we go about opening up or having or hosting those events. I know that I was you know, I was part of a crew that on the weekend after Labor Day there, that I volunteered at an event all day up at the new farm, and you know, there was 850 people there, and yeah, and it was, you know, I mean, it's outdoors, it's a little bit different, but it's things are starting to open a little bit, feeling a little bit back to normal, but there is certainly that hesitation, I guess, and that sort of thing too. So I think we, you know, maybe need to see how it goes, and we got to talk about how we want to do it as a board at our hall too, right? And I know that there are some people who are willing to volunteer for us, and so I don't want anybody here to feel like they're being pressured to participate in anything, or to do something that you're not comfortable with at all. So yeah, like if we do host events, yeah, like let's have the discussion again, and we'll just kind of take it sort of one meeting at a time, I guess. Yeah. Did you want to say something, Lori? Sorry, I thought you had unmuted yourself there for a second when I was rambling.
Sorry, I did for a second. And I mean, I haven't paid attention to all of the numbers that you can have at gatherings. I'm just really surprised that they have 850 people at a gathering. Like, there's been so many weddings that are canceled this year because there couldn't have been that many people. So how did that how does that work, I guess?
So I don't know all the ins and outs. I wasn't part of the organizing team, but they had to go through a process to figure out square footage of their event and what their normal capacity would be. Excuse me. And then it was 50%, or no, it was more because it was outdoors. So it was 75% of their normal capacity. And typically for that that event, they sold 1,000 tickets. What I understood was that when they went through this process to figure out where how many what their capacity was, that their capacity would have been around 5,000 people if they wanted in non-COVID normal times. So they had been way under capacity in the past. So yeah, so that was why. And it is interesting too. It's weird to like, I mean, there's different, it does seem like there are different rules and there are different regulations for different things. I mean, I'm at school all day with almost 1,500 kids and about 150 staff. So there's, 1,650 maybe, people in that building, and we're in the building. And yeah, the kids are walking around at lunch, and we're doing 2 classes a day, and I mean, everyone's wearing masks and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's different. But like that's, I guess maybe just because I'm in that situation every day, maybe I don't know. It's different for everybody, for sure.
With that most recent email with the contact tracing and everything, each individual event has to be scrutinized so much to determine what protocols are going to be required, which puts a lot on Claire, I think, too. And it does say that the contact tracing has to be kept. Doesn't really indicate who keeps it, but it does have to be retained. So
yeah, I think it
from the hall board or from the township, maybe.
Yeah, and I think to be fair to them as well, like there's a lot of information coming from the public health unit, and I believe it was John that said like the information is changing almost daily. It really is, and so I talked to Terry Vachon when we had our meeting for the AODA renovation with Burnside, and I said, like, we're talking about having these concerts, and what do you think, and what's the deal? And he was like, well, he said, you almost can't even worry about it right now in a way, because it's so far, like, it was beginning of September. He said it's 2.5 months away, and who knows what's going on. We could be locked down by then. We could be fully opened up. Like, it could be, who knows? So it's going to be, it's really going to be a monitor the situation closely. I think that a lot of the onus has to be put on the people organizing an event, if we're going to have a public event. They've got to keep track of they've got to maintain their contact list and do their tracing and make sure that they are running the event. They are running the event in compliance with the regulations. That's just what they have to do. Because we're an arm of the township, we have to make sure that we comply with regulations. I know I've heard of private events where there really isn't anything happening in terms of distancing and mask wearing and those sorts of things, but it's a private event, and so what do you do? But because we're a municipality, and we've got to maintain those sorts of things. So and adhere to the regulations. So yeah. So yes, we will keep talking on a monthly basis, if not more. All right. So that kind of, I think, segues well into the AODA renovations. So yeah, I did have a meeting with Terry and the engineer from Burnside earlier this month. We went over the drawings from 2016, and basically the quote, that the $1.5 million quote, a large portion of that, there's a regulation in there that states a certain number, I think it's over 50% of your access doors, your main access doors must be accessible. And so that one of the big things in that quote was essentially making the front entryway that faces Airport Road wheelchair accessible or barrier free, which is obviously a huge undertaking. I think it was quoted at $80,000 or something, or $90,000, because they, with the proposed drawings, have two barrier-free doors on the parking lot side. So there would be the one that's there currently would be lowered, and there'd be a new one established essentially where the women's washroom is now, which would be beside the elevator, the entryway beside the elevator. That was two entryways to the building that were barrier free. The other thing that they talked about was turning the north fire escape into a ramp rather than stairs. So that makes 3 out of your 4 entryways barrier free. In the drawings, there is a new fire escape off the kitchen, which would be on the east, the new addition on the east side of the building, facing the ball diamond. So we would have 5 exterior doors, but 3 of them would be barrier free or have wheelchair accessible. The south facing fire escape in the hall at the top of the stairs now would have to be closed in, so that would not be an exit anymore, because once they lower the door where the entrance is now on the south side, on the parking lot side, they would have to redo the stairs. And the feeling was that they hadn't done all the calculations as to how far it would come out, but it's going to come out and probably into the hall a little bit there, and that door would no longer be usable, because there'll be a step or two basically where that door is now. So that was one of the big things there. There were some other minor, in terms of what needed to be updated from the old drawings. There was some other minor things with some of the washrooms, the proposed washrooms. I think they had to reduce the number of stalls in the women's washroom, because they needed just a little bit more space in the stalls, but pretty minor things, not too much. There were some other things about making sure that the countertops in the kitchen would be at a height that could be used if you were in a wheelchair. So those were kind of the major things. Other than that, the engineer, pardon me, he thought the plans were very workable. Beyond that, we talked for probably an hour or so, and they're going to get those drawings made. Terry is very motivated to get moving on the project. He wants to get going on it. He wants to get it. He said, in his words, basically, Avening was the closest to being ready of all the halls, in a couple ways. So in terms of, obviously, we've got the drawings, and also just like we've I guess, been the most vocal in terms of like communicating with him about asking him questions and just keeping communication open with him. Some of the other halls are still trying to figure out exactly what they want to do in terms of what their renovation could look like and what their commitment is. We talked at our last meeting. We got an update from John from the council table about about what some of the other hall commitment levels is and what some of the there's no hard and fast deals at this point. Like there was that 25-75 split, but nothing is set in stone. Nothing has been written in a motion saying that that you must raise this much money or you must do things this way. And there has been a motion passed by council that they support the halls and will support the renovations. So I don't think we're going to be left in the lurch, or we're going to be told, you've got to fundraise however many hundreds of thousands of dollars to make this thing go. So that if there's any questions I can answer, hopefully, or any comments people want to make.
If we're gonna
Go
do
ahead.
this or whatever, I think we better figure on a start date so that Claire doesn't rent the hall.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be like a year from now, 6 months from now, I think we have to come up with an actual date prior to. We just got to be careful of all our hall rentals. We don't want to have to call them back and say now that we're closed for renovations.
It's true. And that was one thing that we talked about. Terry wants to get the project moving as soon as possible, meaning that maybe we might even be looking at renovating potentially next summer if things can get going. So yeah, it definitely will affect potential rentals for sure. And potentially, beef barbecue, that kind of stuff as well.
And Terry's willing to work with the hall boards, and we're going to have lots of notice. When Terry's got everything finalized, he's coming back to the hall board to present it to the hall board to make sure that it's what you approve of, and then it'll be going into tenders. So he's hoping, I think he said November to come to council. So it's going to be spring by the time the tenders are accepted.
And at that time, we also have a pretty definite amount of money that we are going to be required to pay.
Well, that'll all be worked out whenever we get our final council meeting to address the hall's renovations.
So once the tenders, or prior to the tenders going out, or after the tenders come back, when the final amounts are in, and then we will be told what percentage we would have to cover.
It'll be before the tenders go out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Ed and Tina, did you guys want to say anything, or?
Oh, I missed the part you said about the front doors.
Oh,
What to be done there, sorry.
essentially nothing now. That was one of the things in the quote. And so because we are going to have 3 other barrier-free entryways, we do not have to do anything to the front door to change the front entryway.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay, sure. Okay, any other comments before we move on?
I'm trying to get unmuted here.
Oh, sorry, Claire, go ahead.
So I'm just, At what point should I start informing people that are looking to book for weddings? Like I said, May and July of next year.
Mhm.
Like, do you think we would be ready to roll in the spring, or are you thinking like late summer, or is that just too premature to figure out at this point?
I think at this point it is a little premature. Like John said, I think that if we said to Terry, like, you know, we've got a wedding booked on July 15th or whatever the heck the date is. Can we have the start date of renovations to be, you know, August 1st or something? I think they'll work with us on that.
Okay.
I mean, if it's worth it, if like the engineer kind of when I asked him how long he thought the project would take, he thought 4 to 6 months was probably safe, a safe bet for a construction timeline. So, you know, we kind of got to maybe make a decision when we know that this is going to go ahead for sure next year. If it's going to go ahead for sure next year, you know, I guess we have to make a decision. Do we try and hit the weather window of the summertime, or do we try and hold the two rentals?
Right. Okay, well,
I can
I will just-
definitely.
you guys, I'll just say to anyone that's renting after August 1st next year that it'll be tentative.
Right. Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, like anything you're booking for next summer, next fall is tentative anyways, isn't it, Claire?
Well, it's been tentative for 2 years.
Life's
Yeah.
kind of tentative right
Yeah.
now.
So
Um,
Terry's going to try to work with us as much as possible for bookings and everything, so we have enough time to work around all our bookings and schedules and everything.
Yeah,
So
and that I understand that, but I am also a little nervous that, you know, if things open up on, you know, at the end of November or 1st of January or whatever,
Right.
there's like, we lost a lot of rentals last summer and this summer for weddings. And I'm thinking that those people might be trying to squish everything in next year.
Yeah.
what's your busy season? What's your busiest season?
June, July, and August typically. But you know what? Like I feel like we're a year-round rental now with bowling and with weddings and with concerts. You know, I feel like it's not we don't have a busy season. We just,
Yeah, it's different kind of events, right?
yeah, exactly. Like Christmas is
Yeah.
usually busy with, you know, parties, people wanting something to do when they're up at their cottages or whatever. Lots of bowling sort of thing.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look at 4 months that we're not going to get any rentals, and you
Yeah.
got to try to figure out which is the best 4 months for that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And I, you know, just to kind of dovetail into that a little bit too, when we talked about this from like the fundraising committee, we talked about the idea of, since things have been shut down, once we are able to and it's safe to do so, to get some people back into the hall, to go to a concert, to have kind of like a fun night out, a good experience, to kind of remember, you know, what is so great about this place, and to try and then get them to remember that so that they can, you know, donate to us. So so we, you know, we talked about that too from a fundraising perspective. So there's some organization there too. Okay. moving on to the kitchen inspection. I guess we don't have any information at this point as to how we did on the kitchen inspection. I haven't seen anything. I'll double check, and Amanda, I guess, is on vacation, so. But I haven't seen anything about our, I haven't seen anything about our kitchen inspection. So I guess there's no real
I can
report
dip over
there.
to the hall tomorrow and see if maybe they left something there.
Okay, sure.
haven't
Yeah, I
been
haven't been in. Yeah.
I put up all that signage, so I'll
Okay.
go tomorrow and check. And if not, I'll reach out to Amanda and find out what was up with that.
Okay. Going back. And virtual meetings is the last thing on our new business. So as we kind of talked about already, we are to keep meeting virtually for the time being. So I guess it was until the end of the year, was it not, John? Yeah. So I guess we'll keep going this way for now.
Yeah, we're going to bring it back up to council in our meeting in January again to discuss further steps.
Okay. All right. So our next virtual meeting is booked for the 28th at 7:30, the 28th of October, I guess I should say, at 7:30. How's that date look for everyone?
Okay by me.
Yeah, I'm good that day.
Great.
I'm good that day.
Perfect. Just putting it in my calendar. Okay, great. So that will be our next meeting date, October the 28th at 7:30. Anything else anyone wants to mention now before we adjourn? Anything else you want to get off your chest, Ed?
Nope, we're good for the moment.
Okay, great. All right, motion to adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Melanie and Tina. Great. Thanks, guys. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Take
night.
care. Good night.